my life I've been manic, and I was celebrated and made a career out of being a maniac. For almost 3 decades, I was inspiring a lot of people all around the world to lose their minds in blissful rock and roll. And in that process, I too lost my mind many a times. From a very young age, I just wanted to be a punk. I wanted to destroy stuff. I wanted to light a fire under the powers that be and just burn like a firecracker. But then my mind and my body started burning, and everything started deteriorating around me. This trip began with a 2-month-long manic episode that was triggered during my last concert in Montreal. In a haze of drug-fueled paranoia, I had a public meltdown, and this spiraled into what still feels like an endless mania. I set fire to the whole city and just left. Everyone thought I was in a very bad place, which I was. When I came back to my family in Germany, I was so aggressive and filled with pent-up rage that my wife and my kids were even kind of scared of what was going on in my head. So I thought the only thing left to do was go and check myself into the mental hospital in Berlin. During my stay there, I came to the realization that maybe what I really needed was to get therapy from a Mohawk healer who helped me 15 years ago. He understood the systemic racism that I was born into, as well as the childhood abuses and traumas I suffered. I decided to stop being an entertainer and focus on taking care of my own mental health. Seeing the state of sickness that so-called Canada is in, I found myself at an existential crossroads. In contrast with this vast and incredible land, which should be given back to the indigenous people, I found a murderous colonized empire that pillages and plunders everything from its most precious resources right down to its most precious of people.
Sisters gotta disappear. How many mothers will you kill before you even start searching the great blue landfill?
I brought German-Ukrainian photographer Miron Zownir to join me on this trip, as he has been a trusted friend for almost 20 years and knows firsthand how difficult I can be when I'm having a manic episode. I've always been very inspired by warriors and was greatly impressed by what the First Nation indigenous warriors were doing in so-called Winnipeg. They had built a memorial site for the missing and murdered indigenous women and girls in front of the Brady landfill. They were demanding to search all the landfills after a white serial killer had admitted to the police that he had dismembered and discarded the remains of 4 indigenous women in them. I wrote a song for them to help raise money to maintain the site and demand to search the landfills.
We smudge and we use the 4 sacred medicines, the sage, the cedar, sweetgrass, and tobacco. And we use the smoke, and we smudge our heads. We clear our brain, our mind, to think good things. We smudge our eyes so we can see the beauty. We smudge our mouths so we speak good words. We smudge our ears so we can hear what people are telling us. We smudge our heart so it's pure and we can think good things. We smudge our hands so we do good things. We help people up with our hands. And we smudge our feet so that we can walk the red road, the good way, traditional way of our people. That's the way I was taught. I mean, other people may be taught different, but that's what I was taught.
The Red Dress Project began as an art installation dedicated to the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls by artist Jamie Black. The red dresses are empty to evoke the missing women who should be wearing them. The red color symbolizes the lifeblood that connects us all, as well as vitality and the violence that stole the lives of so many women and girls.
I'm holding this claw here. This is an eagle claw, and the reason it's open like that, it's because it represents war, and the claw, a closed claw represents peace, and we have no peace. There's no peace for the Indigenous community here in so-called Canada. So this is why First Nation Indigenous Warriors is here, to bring some sort of peace and awareness and to be a thorn in the side to the powers that be, government, whatever. We're gonna be here. The women are the leaders in our community. They are the matriarchs. They are the head. They are the ones, the backbone of our warrior society. With the matriarchs, they say goes, and when a chief is not acting right in the community, matriarchs call upon the warriors. There's females active in our group. We need to establish that once again, have it right across Turtle Island where the women are calling the shots again. Because I've seen what the men have done, and we have to fix a lot of broken issues right now.
Red Rum Motorcycle Club has come to show support to the teepee, Camp Morgan, and to the First Nation Indigenous Warriors. They're going to do a bike ride and raise funds to help pay for this camp to be here.
My name's Cambria Harris, eldest daughter of Morgan Harris. I'm a member of Long Plain First Nation, and I'm sure you guys all know who I am and why we're here today. It's been pretty much a year since my mother went missing, and she was murdered on May 1st, and that was unbeknownst to us for months. It was June that the police found out that my mother and Mercedes Miron were believed to be in the Prairie Green landfill, and it wasn't announced to the public until December that they were there in the landfill underneath lots of trash after we'd been searching for her for all those months with a decision not to search for their remains. And we're situated here at the Brady landfill because Buffalo Woman, she was the first victim to the serial killer, and she has no justice. She has no known identity. and no known location either. And so we're here on behalf of Buffalo Woman to give her peace. And Tanya Nipanak too, who's been here since 2012, and the police only searched for her for 6 days, and they gave up. So it goes to show you how time and time again this government and these systems have failed our Indigenous women. And it angers me and it shakens me how we have to come and gather together like this just to bring awareness and bring these women peace. And, you know, it shouldn't have to be like this in our communities, being the only ones speaking up. And these last few days have been really emotionally hard on me because the feasibility study was completed and I haven't had time to grieve over that. The media's been hounding me nonstop. And they're more about trying to win a race on reporting on it than allowing to give us that space to give these women those voices. And I'm just thankful that you guys are here because enough's enough. And if no one's gonna stand for us, then who else will but ourselves? And so, yeah, thank you. Miigach.
Taken from this world far too soon, deprived of the light of every moon. Your memory is shackled to a new breed of killers that kill because they don't need
to search for the missing and murdered. 'Cause the truth is you can't even be bothered.
Your worries are not the same as mine. Stop telling me it's just a waste of time.
Bring her home, bring them home, bring them all home.
You've invented a game we cannot win. You say you're civilized while we sit and spin. Unanswered questions stay the same. How can you sit there and wallow in your shame?
The bodies are waiting to be discovered, discarded, missing and murdered.
Your worries just aren't the same as mine. Stop telling me it's just a waste of time.
Bring her home, bring them home, bring them all home.
When I lost my kids, I wanted to die. It was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like, I can't explain it. It was just, you just feel nothing and you just want to die. Like, I couldn't even leave my room because every time I left my room, something of theirs would be out there. And I would just instantly start crying, started like living in the street. Like, I lost my apartment after that, hitchhiked before. Like, I met a guy too. Like, I feel like, I really love that guy too, like, but he died. He'd overdosed of fentanyl. And he was always there for me, like, every time. Like, I met him when I started first doing it. Like, me and him would do it together. I lost my apartment, and I don't know, like, him and his family were always there for me. Every time, like, I would be homeless, he would always tell me, like, you could come to my house, don't worry, like, you're always allowed here. And I'm going through psychosis on the street, right? Like, I don't really know what to believe and blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, everywhere I go, somebody I know is has either died from fentanyl or is doing fentanyl. And being at this treatment center, I've been here since October 27th. Like, I go to work now. So I just graduated, right? Didn't think I was going to graduate before. And yeah, I got a job. My first job ever in my life. So my days, I wake up, I go to work, I come to the treatment program, and I help out with others. I talk about my success, and I try to help them deal with things that hurt them. Like, sometimes they don't know how to cope. A lot of people, and that's what I'm here for. Like, being a senior member, I've been here for 9 months, going on 9 months. So as a senior member, like, you have a responsibility to help others who are just coming into the program and don't know how to cope, basically, or just need someone that will be there to listen. Or, like, you don't always have to give advice, you know, like, some people don't want to hear advice, you know, you just have experience, and it's good. Like, I enjoyed it when I first got here. I mean, there was other people that motivated me, helped me get through my days, and a lot of people told me how to get a job. Like, it's just a good influence here, you know. I don't think I could have done I don't think I could have did it anywhere else. Like, it's such a good community. So my mom is very proud. Like, I talk to her every day, and she takes care of my boys. Like, she puts them through so much good extracurricular activities, and she just knows how to raise children. Like, my mom is like the most best woman ever. Like, I'm proud of her for continuing and pushing on and never letting anything, you know, really get to her, you know. She's just a very strong person. She's my role model, you know.
Our family is an MMIWG family. I lost a niece to that. She was murdered, and she was missing for 3.5 years. And we just found her a couple of months ago, and we're lucky that we got to bring her home. We have at least that partial closure. But her killers weren't ever found. They're not found yet. So I'm here in support of the movement to address the missing and murdered women that are still in the landfill. And because the issue started off as women, but really it comes to more comprehensive to include our men and boys. Our men and boys are missing and being murdered almost at the same rate as the women. So really the issue is not just women, but people, our people. And I bring my grandchildren to this camp for them to learn, for them to know the issues firsthand, to hear the stories of people just being around in the camp. They're learning. We've endured a couple hundred years of colonization, and for 150 years or more, our children were taken to residential schools. Our families were broken. Well, a lot of people say that, just get over it. But how can you just get over it? My niece just died. You know, we just learned of her murder 2 months ago. I don't know how we could just get over it. The women are in the landfill. I don't know how we can just get over it. Our jails are filled with our people. I don't know how we can just get over that. Our kids are still being apprehended. So why can't we just get over all of this? No, it's trauma-based. This camp here represents healing, and it's being challenged. You know, it's been giving deadlines. So what we need is we need ourselves to speak up, to talk about our stories, and to talk about the intergenerational effects that have come through all of this colonization, and it's resulting in our people being missing, murdered, or they're in addictions. You know, they're losing their kids to the system because of addictions. And it's really come through the generations that all this trauma is being passed on, and unknowingly. No one passes trauma on knowingly. It's not that we just do this to our families. We don't even realize. We try and do the best we can with the impacts that we've had. You know, I lost my girl to addiction, their mom. And thank God she's found her way back to recovery. No one talks about the treaties. When the treaties came, that was the loss of our land. That I don't know why we celebrate treaties, because that's celebrating the loss of our land. But they made promises to each other that they would live together in peace and harmony, and they would live equally. Well, that didn't happen. And the Indian Act really oppressed First Nations people, whereas they couldn't leave the reserve. They had to get a pass from an Indian Department of Indian Affairs agent. It was against the law to practice our ceremonies. It was against the law to get a university education. It was, we couldn't go outside of our reserves to hunt and gather, even though that's all in the agreements. We couldn't even vote till 1960. Like, the residential schools were around for 150 years. The last one that closed was 1996. That's how recent it is. And those effects, those residential school survivors, we call them, because they survived genocide. They were tortured in there for speaking their language. There was absolutely no way they could practice their culture. Their hair was cut. My mom's tongue was put with needles for her speaking her language. They weren't even allowed to talk to their siblings. My mom had to crawl underneath a table. She would keep this little biscuit for her brother and sneak that biscuit for him, because she knew that he wasn't getting enough nutrition. All these things. They didn't learn to be parents. They were taken at 5 and came home at 15. How do you learn the love of a parent? How do you learn to pass on love when all you've had has been abuse? So even their parents, when their kids were taken by force and by law, it wasn't just a voluntarily thing, it was mandated, it was law. Parents were going to be put in jail if they didn't let their kids go to residential school. The RCMP came with those agents to take those children away. What do you think would happen to those parents? Of course, they're going to go into depression. They're going to turn to alcoholism. And then, people call us and say, oh, you're drunks and you're alcoholics. Well, excuse me. That's how people have been dealing with trauma for all these decades, these centuries of oppression. All of that has had a ripple effect in all of our generations. It's come down, and that's what I mean, not knowing when you're passing that down. You don't know, because how do you learn to be a parent? I became a young parent. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a parent at 16. I was married at 17. I was looking for security. My mom was an alcoholic, and I not knowingly passed trauma down to my children too. I try the best I can to do the best I can to address those issues in my own family. But it's hard. It's hard. I went to the highest level of education. That's what I thought was the answer. I got a PhD. But it wasn't the answer. I was studying so much and working so hard that I neglected my children. Now that's the same addiction to work, trying to make a better life, because I didn't have a good childhood. I wanted different for my kids, but in all of that, it still hurt them. So we're finding a balance, right? We didn't know balance. I didn't know balance. Finding a balance is the key to having a good life. I know that now. And I'm trying really hard with my grandchildren, with my children. But when we talk about intergenerational impacts, it went from my mom to me, to my kids, and to my grandchildren. That's the effects that happened. That's the reality for our people here in Canada, our Indigenous people who experienced all of this. This is why we still have issues today.
Yeah, Main Street's just full of just drugs, like out in the open, and alcohol out in the open, and a lot of violence. Like people will just like attack you for nothing, yeah, just everywhere you go, like someone asking you for, do you have smoke, or like, do you have a bubble? Do you have any rigs, or like, can you doctor me? Like just strange people, right? Like everywhere you go, and just like it's just very dirty, you know. Like they're just throwing shit anywhere on the ground, and there's resources there. Like I could go and sleep for the night. Well, if I was really tired, like up for days, tired, just need to sleep somewhere, and like there's Main Street projects there, and they just give you like a mat to sleep on and a sheet. So like I would just like go there, like you have to go line up for that place, and yeah, and then sometimes you can have a shower if you make it in time, and yeah, and then you just sleep, and then it's not even a good sleep at all. You just like, people are yelling all night, or like there's just people having psychosis all night, and yeah, and then you wake up and have like a little breakfast, and then you're outside out on the street right at like 6 a.m. They kick you out, you know, and then you have to like that's when I guess everyone started doing drugs. Even like I would be one of those like crazy people, you know, like I remember dancing on the street all high once, like right on Main Street, right in front of the benches there, and sitting on top of the garbage, you know, like just thinking crazy thoughts. And I don't know, I would sit there sometimes and just use drugs out in the open because I was an IV user, and like I would just sit there and just shoot up, like right, and cars passing by, you know, and we're all sitting on that bench, and I'm just doing a shot. And it's not a good feeling being on the run too, because you don't really have any rest, because cops eventually show up, and you never know if they're gonna pick you up and stuff like that. And I was always alone. Like, especially when I went to Main Street, I'd always be alone, because a lot of the people I used to hang out with, they never wanted to be in that area. And like they always found somewhere to go, and like I wouldn't, you know, like I wouldn't be included. So, but yeah, most of the time I was on Main Street, I was alone.
Our next destination was so-called Lethbridge, Alberta, a place that I had only heard about as being like the Wild West, full of bull riders and cowpokes. The long stretch of highway sprawled endlessly, and in the far distance was the mighty Chief Mountain and the beautiful Rockies. We had been invited by Old Man White Thunderbird, a signatory Indian elder who was an activist in the American Indian movement in the late 60s and 70s, and well known for his knowledge of international law. I was also in search for Cody Cisco Lane Prairie Chicken, a Blackfoot musician I had been collaborating with for a few years, who was now homeless.
Sagalmustus. I said bush buffalo, the big black ones. They're up north. There's wild herds up there. So we're going to visit buffalo people, Blackfoot people. I'm also from Buffalo people. So that's one thing we have in common. We got ripped off for our herds. They were slaughtered. When they put the railroad through, they slaughtered all the buffalo they could. Now, pretty interesting, because at one time, the immigrants or settlers that were coming west, they have to build a house and stay there for 5 to 6 months, because some of the herds were 60 million strong, buffalo herds, 60 million buffalo passing. So they couldn't go through that herd, too thick. So they had to build a house before they could get west. That's how big the herds were.
That's insane. It's incredible.
And they killed most of them. They wiped them out. They left them to rot on the prairie.
Incredible.
To destroy our people. Plains people were one of the strongest people that they couldn't defeat.
What's your name?
Me?
Yeah.
Gustav Spochkum.
Gustav Schwachme?
Hey. Wow. You're right on. A lot of people sometimes they can't pronounce it. That's my Indian name, eh?
Gustav Schwachme.
Yes.
What does it mean?
Yeah, crazy caller in the sky.
Mystical caller.
Yeah, that's how some interpret it as mystical caller. But see, this one, it was like this, eh? When we came yesterday. Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, this is where it starts, the pipe, eh? That's where he was standing by it, remember?
They call it the Black Snake.
The Canadian government and oil corporations have been fracking on Blackfoot and Kainai tribal land in order to extract gas resources. Fracking poisons their groundwater, threatens their wildlife, and destroys historical sites which are essential to their culture. Old Man was asked to give legal counsel to the Blackfoot Blood Tribe to fight against this, the government, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. After searching for Cody for a few days, he finally showed up at my hotel. He told me he was busking and living on the streets. Cody had lost many people in his immediate family: his mother, his little brother, his wife, and countless friends. He had lived a life full of sorrow and tragedy, but our shared love of rock and roll always made sparks fly. We had been collaborating for 3 years. He would send me songs he recorded on his cell phone with the guitar his mother had left for him. Cody passed away a few months after this meeting. The police told his family his death was suspicious, but no investigation was ever made.
Did she feel
As I walked through the streets of this so-called thriving metropolis, I began seeing it all through a different, decolonized lens. I lived here over 20 years ago, and the problems have only gotten exponentially worse. This genocide affects us all. These are people of every race, color, and creed, and all of them have been robbed of their humanity by an increasingly unforgiving world that has decided to look away in disgust rather than give the unconditional love and compassion that is needed to truly heal all traumas. If this is supposed to be the civilized world, why does the hurt always get more painful as the drugs get even deadlier? When I look into the faces of the people here, many of whom should be in hospices, who are on the verge of dying, I wonder how all of us can sleep at night knowing that this suffering exists. But then again, we have been living all our lives knowing about genocides all over the world. And the truth is, we are all complicit somehow. Our addiction to mind-numbing distraction keeps churning the death factories. Our tax dollars squandered on a colonial system that has failed so many and keeps denying the needy access to proper mental health care. Will we sweep these fellow dreamers and beloved humans into the waste bin like we always do? After spending so much time and effort trying to heal myself, being immersed into the reality of what it is to be an Indian in so-called Canada, the modern world starts to feel like the giant prison that it really is. And detaching from it seems more and more like the only thing left for me to do. I usually ride my manic episodes like a wave. In my younger days, it felt great, but after seeing so many triggers along this trip, I felt like I was being set on fire. I could feel my mind was letting go of reality and started wandering off into unknown terrains. The feeling begins like a superpower. I am able to make incredible connections between events or people which feel almost supernatural. Though my mind was racing at breakneck speeds, my body and soul felt exhausted.
Out of this abyss of meaning, desire still rises, innocent as a new-hatched phoenix. It's the same old song you've heard before, and the time has come to even the score. Yes, the words have changed along the way, and they make you want to run away.
And he had ups and downs. Arish was obsessive, compulsive, overwhelmed by his emotions, searching for his personal nirvana and trying to solve the problems of the world. Due to his mania, sometimes he wasn't even himself, and it was impossible to find a common ground. Ultimately, we managed to cooperate smoother, respecting each other's priorities. If I ever would go with Arish on another trip, I don't think so. but you never know.
Smiling as you count your pearls.
That Canada is not our country, that we are not Canadians, and that we don't rely on them to decide what we need to do for our missing and murdered. We need to get together with our brothers and sisters who are searchers and get in that landfill and search that landfill. Canada. They don't give a shit about any of us. They don't care that they cut us up, chop us up, and throw us in the Red River. They don't care. They're just making us wait, buy their time for their elections. That is disgusting. Shame on Canada for doing that. To these families. Never be afraid to stand up. Never be afraid to tell the truth about what Canada does to our people. There are liars, there are thieves, they are on stolen lands, and we should never be afraid or pacified by our own people either. Stay strong. I've been involved with searching for the last 16 years, searching for our people. I've been affiliated to a search and rescue team in the past, but I moved away because of the bureaucracy. They don't do what we need to do. We trust in spirit. We trust in our visions. We go on the families what the families want. We don't just wait for a specific site. We need to go out there and do what we need to do to bring these families home. These loved ones do not deserve to be in the dump. We are not trash. We are the backbone of our people. Never be afraid. And don't let Canada lie to you. Fuck Canada and fuck the vote. To say it, I can't sit quiet.
Yeah, no, you did good. You did great.
Many people have already come down to Camp Morgan and start calling it home. Camp Morgan is a peace village where we share our love, where we are able to share our culture openly, no longer hidden because our government is fighting us. We are starting to rise up and say no to the government. Our laws, we gotta remember that. We are the first people here. And so let's stand up and stand together. One voice, one mission, one nation. And we will rise and we will make the world watch and understand who we are. Enough of this garbage being dumped on our loved ones. It's time to shut Brady down for good.
And Prairie Green.
And Prairie Green. They need to find an alternative place to dump their garbage. But we need these places closed down for good. And we need them to understand who we are. And so memorials need to go up, and a healing center needs to go up where Camp Morgan is, so that we can heal ourselves, so the nation and everybody that comes here can learn of the atrocities that have happened to our people throughout history. And they continue today, as they did 100 years ago, as they did 150 some odd years ago when they formed this colonial corporation called Canada. We're here as one people now, and so let our voice be heard. Search the landfill!
Search the landfill!
Bonjour. I'm honored here to speak with you and share the gift of my dress and how it was presented to me. This is the dress of broken hearts, and it represents the murdered and missing indigenous men and boys. It was brought to me through a vision, a dream, that those grandfathers came and they said, "What about us? Do we not matter?" So you will create this dress to show the women in the red dresses we are meant to walk equally together, to support each other, to help each other. This is the only complete heart that sits on my dress, one other. It breaks like this. It represents that moment when we are told that we have a murdered loved one or a lost loved one. That heart, when it breaks, our men's hearts begin a journey, and each of these hearts represent different men, different stages of their journey and how long they have been gone. This is the only other complete heart that sits on my dress. You see a scar in the middle. When we returned our loved ones, yes, our heart's complete, but we forever carry a scar. My dress, my leggings. This is the flower that represents the man or the child. This is that love it carries. This butterfly, its white body represents that spirit of this individual. These butterflies, they carry those spirits as far as they can, where the eagles will come and carry it further. The eagles will fly as high as they can with that spirit, so the thunderbirds will come and take it on its final journey. They use the winged ones to explain things. I've protected this dress like it's my own child. We need to understand that we walk together as man and woman, not necessarily in marriage, but we walk together as companions and friends to support each other. And that's the message of this dress, is to remember that balance that we carry. And these dresses that we carry, and this dress that I wear, it's a medicine dress, it's a healing dress.
In a lot of ways, I really think of Josini as an Indian who's chosen the Indian way of life.
blueberries. These are wild blueberries.
Wow. Is it the time of the year, right?
Yep, right now they're all blue. Look at it, it's all blue. And yeah, these are choke cherries, but see this?
Oh.
It's a fungus that's killing them.
Yeah, that's a fungus, yes.
It's killing them. They might not be ready, but they're very bitter
And sour.
and sour.
Don't eat too many, you'll get wet ota.
Yeah. Our choke cherries, we gather them and then we put them on a big rock and we squish them. We squish them and squish them and then we let it dry and then it's we dry even the seeds. There's hard seeds in there, and then we mix it with our dry moose meat, deer meat. We mix it together, both dry, and we can keep it for years. Woman first.
Thank you.
Wow. It's so fresh.
So beautiful, eh?
And the perfect temperature, too.
Yep.
King had discovered a new land. He was asked by the people, where does the border go? So he said, take Arish, the greatest archer, make him go up to the top of the mountain and let him throw an arrow, and where the arrow lands, that's our border. And Arish put it so hard that his body exploded and the arrow never landed, and that's when borders should never exist.
Wow.
So yeah, it was named after a great archer. My grandmother's memory is protecting me from my father's tyranny. I can feel it. Because she let me think exactly how I wanted to think.
That's how my grandma was with me too, my cuckoo. Same
Your
way.
cuckoo, my nana and your cuckoo.
Yeah.
They're up there.
You guys say nana?
Nana.
Nana.
Nana,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, is that how
Say
you say
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But my grandmother was so funny. She found a joke book when she was 10 years old. And it was a dirty joke book. And she knew that she shouldn't show it to her parents, right? So she hid it. But then she shared it with my uncles, my granduncles and aunts. And there was poetry in it. Like, for example, one poem was, दूर से देखा तो अंडे उबल रहे थे, पास जाके देखा तो गंजे उछल रहे थे. It means from far away I saw eggs boiling. When I went up close, it was bald men jumping. That was a joke, it was great. I see it.
Get it out,
I'm trying.
Ota.
Get out of here, you Ota. Wait.
Is that really a boat?
Oh, I see it perfectly now.
Get it out. Did you
Yeah,
get it?
I got it!
Yes!
Ah!
Let's see.
You see it?
No.
You see it.
Did you see it? Did you see
I
it?
can see it.
Right
Oh,
there,
good,
come on.
yay!
Look, right, it's like standing up.
I can see it. You don't see it?
And my eyes are so bad close up.
It's like
it's
totally
kinda hard to see.
standing up.
Oh, good. I see it.
I can't believe you actually
Yay.
got it out.
Oh my gosh, that hurts so much.
I'm a professional healer and spiritualist.
I think I had enough water.
Yeah, let's.
I'm gonna crawl back like a little turtle.
I'm gonna walk around like a tall giant.
I'll swim.
Living with Joe's family and witnessing the harmony that comes from living off the land was truly life-changing. Even though they are faced with serious problems like running out of drinking water in wait for the water trucks, which would sometimes take days to show up, Joe's family had such a deep connection with the wilderness they were born into. Joe was able to protect her children from the evils of modern-day society and provided such a beautiful home for them to be raised humbly in the true Indian way.
My name is Wabebenes Disneykas. O Mashkuno Tutem Neon Shing Donchi Ogichitamewe Anishnaabe one. What I said was introduce myself as a White Thunderbird. I come from the Elk Clan. We come from Buffalo Point, Neon Shing. I am Anishnaabe from Lake of the Woods area here in Treaty 3 area. If you see this lodge, it took all of us in the community to do this, eh? My sons, my daughters, my nephews, my nieces, my grandkids, we all come together and put this lodge together. And this is the only place we have in our First Nation right now that's really connected to our spirituality and our culture. They desecrated the area with the golf course. There were some burial grounds, eh? And we were told to go put some sacred items up there, which we did, and that didn't help. They just went ahead and desecrated those shake tent shelters that we made. It's all about protecting our sovereignty, our language, and our culture, and living off the lands, and protecting the lands, first and foremost, eh? See, Anishnaabe means we were the people that were descended from the stars, from the Creator. We're here, put here for a reason, to look after Mother Earth, eh? And all creations, the water, the trees, the animals, and our people. The medicines, I wasn't too much into the medicines because that's our women's responsibility and their role as part of the community. The men need to learn to understand how to respect our women, take care of them, eh? First and foremost, eh? We've lost that to residential school, to the beatings and abusing and stuff like that. We don't know how to be men anymore, eh? To be that warrior that will get you down to take care of people and do our responsibilities. Mostly today with our people, when we try to get somewhere to do something through ceremony or do something as a nation, we're already divided because half of our people or most of our people are Christianized, eh? So we have that internal battle with them that this is right, this is wrong, but this is the way we were taught 200 years ago before our first contact. Everything was there for us, the abundance, our language, our culture. And the only problems we had is we were introduced to that black robe coming across in the boat with the cross and the Bible, you know, striking fear into our kids and our elders and our people that this is the way you have to do things or you're going to go to hell. You know, our elders never talk about such a bad place. Our Creator never threatened, or I never heard of anything like that evil place where we would end up. Certain people give out Indian names, and they do through different ways, through pipe and sweats, and you would offer your tobacco, or the parents would come and bring their child to the namesaker who had the gift to reach up to Creator and ask, who's his child that you sent to us? He would do his ceremony, and then they'd come back and they would do their feast and do the naming ceremony. We'd all acknowledge the little one and welcome him into the family, and everybody would announce his name. That's how it was done. That's how my understanding was done. But mine was done through shake tent because I was older. I didn't get mine when I was a small child. I got mine when I was probably around 20, 25. Because when I quit drinking, I didn't know who I was. Like I said, our identity means a lot to us. If you don't have that identity, who you are as Anishnaabe, the language and culture, it belittles you, eh? It shames you. And now that you know who yourself, you can carry yourself with pride, dignity, and walk with your chin up, eh? So that's what kept me going all these years, my dad's pipe, eh? I made a promise to my dad at the funeral there. Lawrence Henry was doing my dad's funeral, eh? And he said, your dad wanted to have this pipe. And he called me up there and gave me that pipe. And I stood in front of my dad's casket and I promised I would never desecrate or dishonor this pipe as long as I live. And that's what kept me going, eh? For almost 30 years of non-drinking. So it kind of changed my whole life right then and there, eh? And still this day, I've run into so many problems and this and that, losing my mother and losing family members. Not once have I ever thought about turning to the bottle, to alcohol, eh? Because of that pipe, eh? You really have to have that belief in that pipe. We sit here and we smoke the pipe with the family, and we use the lodge as we had my mom's funeral in here. We use it for naming ceremonies. Charlie Nelson came and did a naming ceremony. We do our spring feast, fall feast. We do our fasting in here. The kids come in here to do their drawings or whatever. It's more like our little community center here, eh? So it's where we come to be grounded and reconnect. And you know, even if we're alone, I come sit here at nighttime sometimes, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning by myself, just to be by myself and reconnect. Eh?
I remember when I was 13 years old, I watched the Oka crisis take place on the evening news. I saw white folks burning effigies of Indians and throwing stones at Mohawk elders and children who were fleeing for their safety. This was a harrowing sight. I watched the Mohawk warriors fight every level of police, even the army. Later on, at the age of 17, I sought refuge in Kahnawake from the many times my tyrannical father kicked me out of our home. In my late 20s, before being diagnosed as bipolar, I had some healing sessions with Mohawk healer Mike Standup. On this trip, I had returned to him to help me out of the existential funk I was in. He has the incredible ability to enter my past traumas and guide me out of them. This healing gave me the confidence to go on this journey and shine a light on the genocide of the Indian people in so-called Canada. It also birthed the deepest sense of healing I've ever felt in my entire life.
Seal you back in that protective bowl.
Several names. First of all, the name I was born with is James Mitchell Amato. When I moved north to the North Country to be with my people, I changed my name to Mitch Deer. And then my Indian name in the Longhouse, which I went back to traditionally, my name is Tahagaroras. The Hagaroras in our language means he splits the bark on a tree. That's my grandfather's name. I asked to keep his name so it wouldn't go to the grave, because then it's all forgotten. Our real name is Ganyanka Haga, people of the land where there's flint. Flint when you make a fire. We are part of the 5 original nations. In the 1700s, the Tuscaroras, they fled the Carolinas because they were being persecuted and beaten off their lands. They joined us and we became 6 nations. So we are part of the what we call the Iroquois Confederacy, if you want to call it that. When Washington was fighting with the American Revolution, he had nothing to give his men, nothing. So what he did instead was to give them our land, which is illegal. He used a fictitious treaty called the Joseph Bryan Treaty, which was 1797, and one man made a treaty with the New York State, and that's illegal. One man can't make a treaty with one state for all the people's land. It was a legal treaty, but they said it was binding, and it wasn't. So we lost all our land that way. And other people in Canada love Joseph Brandley. He's a hero. To us, no. To us, he's a traitor. He wasn't one of us. But they just used any token Indian to sign this treaty so they could take all the land. This was done 200 years ago. We belong to what we call the Longhouse, which is a building, a long building, that's where we used to all live in together. And we had gardens around there, and we used to have people protecting and hunting and fishing, building new longhouses, slashing the fields to make new gardens, to take care of the people. That was the job of the men. And the women did their job when they raised the children, you know. And in our culture, the women have more power than the men. The women can put our men in and can take them out as chiefs. They have that power. For every man chief, there's a woman who's right next to her, next to him, not behind him, next to him, to make sure he's doing his job. She's a clan mother. And every chief has a clan mother who watches over him to make sure he's doing the right thing. Because everything he does is for the people. And in our way, we don't have 4-year election. They're in to be a chief for life. And if they get too old or too feeble or get sick, then they take away their horns, which means they relieve them of their duties. There's 3 clans in the Mohawk Nation: the bear, turtle, and the wolf. And that's the way to keep all the bloodlines straight. You kept the purity in all the families. So we broke into clans, and a lot of stuff we do is clan oriented. We do things as a clan. Like if there's a funeral, the people who are mourning will take their job to mourn, and the other clans will take care and help them to do the funeral, to help bury that person. They do the job, the cooking and the cleaning of the longhouse and taking care of the firewood to make sure the fire is burning all the time. But when we gather as a people, when we do our what we call tobacco burning, we gather. It's a prayer that we sing, we talk before. It's the words we say before we say the words. That's what it means. And what that is that it puts us all in the right mind when we start to think as a people, as we're being together. And we start with the smallest things in the world, and we go up in all the animals, the trees, the waters, the thunderers, the lightning, the clouds, and we go further up into the heavens. We go into the stars, we go into other places. So we start from the smallest to the largest, and the sun, and the grandmother the moon, and the eldest brother the sun. That's all included in our words. And we do that when we get together, when we have a meeting, because it puts us in the right mind of thinking, so that when we're not hostile to each other, we don't raise our voice to each other. We have respect for each other's opinions and ideas. We have 50 chiefs in the whole Confederacy that govern all our people. They represent the people. They're not the boss of the people. They represent the clans all across Turtle Island, we call it. And they cannot do anything on their own to make profit for themselves. They can't do that. They have to think of all the people first when they make a decision. They got to put their family ahead, they got to put the people ahead first, and the last person they think about is themselves. So usually the man who was the poorest man in the nation was the chief, because he had to represent everybody in his clan, you know. In 1988 or 89, there was trouble up in our sister reservation up north, 45 miles from here. It's called Anishnaabe, and next to it is the town of Oka, where they make Oka cheese. And they had asked for help because the town of Oka wanted to expand the golf course up the hill. It was on Indian land. They wanted to expand it from 9 holes to 18 holes. And the problem is, there's a graveyard there where our ancestors are buried. And they were just going to bulldoze or move the bodies or do whatever they want to make this golf course larger. Cut down a lot of big grandfather trees that our ancestors planted there. And we sent a contingent of men to go back and help them. Not to take over, not to run the show there, but just to help them. We just stayed in the pines. And then we thought that we were going to find the town workers to come up there with chainsaws, start cutting down the trees, and we would just chase them off the land. So get out of here. You got no business doing that here. Leave, you know. Instead, they brought 100 policemen up the hill. 100 SQ, Sûreté Quebec. That's the provincial police. We had no idea they were going to send that amount of people up. So we had to deal with them. We're not afraid of them. I mean, we could get killed, we could get shot, pointing guns at each other, and we says, well, we die, you're going to die too. You're not going to live out of here either. You're going to be carried out like us. So it came to, finally they started throwing tear gas, and they threw so much tear gas that they ran out of tear gas. So they had to go back and get more. Everybody thought we were still there. They left their police cars there. They had police vans, and we came out and we looked around, we says, they're not gone yet. And then somebody said, they are gone, they ran down the hill. And I said, well, go check. So they went out and he checked, it was true. They ran down the hill, they left their police cars there. And there's some of them are brand new police cars. They had just bought them. So we were like, oh my God. So we took over one car, we drove it into the pines. And the other ones, we took over their propane. They had a big giant payloader. We smashed down the cars. We dragged them to the front of the top of the hill, and we made a barricade with those cars and the vans. And we put a big tree on top of it, just to block, so they couldn't just ride through even with a tank you couldn't get through. And all the roads had to be blockaded. There had to be hundreds of guys at each entrance to make sure everything was safe. And then the SQ, they sent thousands of cops up there and here. And that's what ensued for 78 days. One more day more than Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee was 77 days. Ours was 78 days. So that made them very angry, and they had protests in Chateauguay, all the French people, and they were mad at us, and there was Hell's Angels. There was all kind of people there. There was motorcycle guys. There was they had RCMP officers there, and they were beating back the crowds, and they had effigies made like into us, and they were hanging them from the light poles and burning them, you know, and to show the anger they had for our people, you know. So they had the right to go bring in the army now, and they started doing that. They brought 4,700 soldiers, 2,000 up there and 2,000 here. They sent more people here than they did Iraq back in 1990 when they had Desert Storm. And they respected our barricades and what we did. And of course they didn't agree with it. Of course it's against the law, their laws, but it didn't break our laws because we had the right to protect ourselves. It's in our great law, which is thousands of years old in Quebec government. And they had all their tanks, they had all their machine guns pointed at us all the time. And we just stuck it out, and we just did what we had to do. We stood our ground. What this all boils down to is that we have the right to protect ourselves. It's in our law. We call it the Great Law of Peace. And what it defines is that we have the right to protect our land, to protect the people, to protect the territories that we occupy. And there's no other police force or army, or we're going to call, to protect us. We got to do it ourselves. This is what people even in our town don't understand. Our Constitution is thousands of years old. The U.S. Constitution is only 151 years old. Ours is way past that. Parts of their Constitution came from our Constitution. Parts of it. The United Nations borrowed a lot of our ways of how we govern ourselves. And what it is that we have envoys that we send out, and they learned that from us. Envoys of peace, envoys of just talking to people, because we did that for other nations around us who were more numerous than us. We had to make peace, and we had peace envoys, and we also had war councils. We had war measures that we had to take care of people because they were encroaching on other Indians. Because at one time, all the Mohawks in this community were Catholic. Our Confederacy had lost so much power, and they had killed off a lot of our clan mothers, and a lot of our chiefs, and a lot of our medicine people, that we were so weak that we decided to give in and follow this strange new Catholic way. And we used to hide in the bushes and carry on our ceremonies and our language, so the Christians wouldn't see us. So it was underground, a lot of the longhouse ways, the traditions, we used to still follow it. Now, We have a longhouse and we go in there willingly, no problem. We can practice all day what we want, sing all what we want. It's different today. It's a lot better, you know. The reason why we have eagle feathers is because for us, the eagle is the one that flies the highest and can see the farthest. He's got very good vision. So we put him on the top of our tree of peace, and he's looking out for danger ahead for us. He warns us, in a way, symbolically, to watch out for danger coming to us. And when they mate, they mate for life. They don't change partners. They have their babies and they stay together until they die. So to us, that's an example to us to be with your woman forever. You know, that's a natural way, like the eagle. And that's a lot of our teachings is to follow the animals, because the animals have original instructions built into them when they're born. Only the humans are the ones that stray away from the original instructions. That's why we have wars. That's why we kill each other. Because we don't have our original instructions to have peace, to be nice to each other, to respect one another. That's why the world is the way in turmoil the way it is today. Each one of us supposedly is supposed to follow the ways of the bear, because the bears have medicine. They're really into medicine because of what they eat. And they eat a lot of berries and bark and stuff like that. So they have their own medicine, the bears. Plus they hibernate, you know, and there's magic qualities about the bear. Then the wolves, well, they live in packs. So that teaches us that the one that leads the wolf pack is not the strongest one. The one in the back is the one that's the leader. And all the pack is going through the forest. They're all watching each other. They all watch out for each other. And all the mother wolves take care of all the babies. They make sure they're okay. So it's like a family. So that gives us the guide to have a family, how to treat our family. See, you can learn a lot from wolves. You can learn a lot. There's a lot of mysticism about our people that people will never understand. The white man is never going to understand our ways because he doesn't believe in it. But for many of us, all across Indian country, we have people who believe in these things. There are a lot that don't believe in it. That's okay. That's their opinion. But there's a lot of mysticism about our people. Yeah, the existence of beasts, like Bigfoot. We know there's Bigfoot from here to the end of the side of the country. And to me, to what we know is that they belong to another dimension. They're not in this dimension, but sometimes they sneak over into this dimension and they're seen by people. And people have taken photographs of them. You've seen them walking away and all that. And you see him for a little while, but then after that, you don't see him. In the Himalayas, there's the Yeti. He's another being. And we believe he comes from a different dimension also. There's different dimensions, not just this dimension we live in now. Everybody knows about this dimension, that's it. There's other dimensions. And the Hindus are the ones that try to get to a higher dimension in their religion. Well, that's fine. And we know there's other dimensions. So these creatures, and some of them are very horrible, come from other dimensions. And sometimes, like around the world, there's portals, doorways that they come through, and people will see them. There's beasts, like in the river, that you see. They're huge, big, long worm-looking things, giants. I know some black guys that used to come and fish, and they saw this big thing in the water. Scared the hell out of them. They didn't know what to think about it. But we know there's different stuff in the water. It's not all just fish and salamanders, and you know, there's different other things in the water. During the crisis, I was cut off from the army, and I had to go hide. And I was sitting in this one place, and I'm just sitting there, and this bird came along. It's a beautiful bird. It looked like a parrot, but it wasn't a parrot. It was like a big dove, and it had beautiful feathers all over it. I never saw a bird with that many beautiful feathers. And it kept squawking in the tree. I'm looking at it. I'm like, what do you want? You know. I find out later there was a woman who was shape-shifting. She shape-shifted into that bird, and she was trying to help me lead me out of there. But I didn't know that. I had no clue. I didn't know why she was there. But I found out later that this woman, her name was Sandman, she's the one that changed into a bird. So it's, like I said, there's mysticism about our people that nobody's going to understand. And we have that in our culture. We have that in all the cultures.
Who am I Who am I? Who am I? Nahodayun Zayat. Oh Canada, our home on stolen native land. Fake trash love and all thy sons command. But the true north ain't free no more. In this psychological warfare, you get indoctrinated. There are two evils and you must choose. Living in a world that accepts abuse and neglect. And that's the one which you choose to elect. You must forget, you was the slippery serpent in the path, slithering through the grass. Genocide tried to erase me and take my spirit. But I'm singing way too loud saying I won't hear it. But nah, they broke more than 500 treaties. They destroyed their mother, then they killed each other. My truth is a power lift. I'm not afraid to share my gift. I'm not afraid to be alive, and I am not afraid to die. I am not a number in this equation. Ain't even the denominator. I am the problem, however. I stand in the way of your endeavor. I won't buy into your fear when I can't afford it. The revolution won't be televised because it is illegal to record it. And you can believe the lie that these evils are not interconnected like a thread. But pull this edge and see it all come apart. Pick apart the pebbles, savor in the flower's juice. I can hear the ancestors screaming from the roots. Walk a while in my moccasins, then maybe I'll think of walking in your shoes. Push me down, I'll never bruise. Lift me up, I'll bring you up too. And to distinguish the individuality in each generation means nothing when you regularly breed ignorance into the next. God, everything's an argument, nothing's a discussion. Creator, please help, I'm trying. I need to fix something. And I'ma help everybody even if they told me I was nothing. But I came from nothing, so that must mean something. Miracles happen every day and everybody think nothing of it. Eagles are thriving, so they're way too above it. Don't have time for that magical thinking, even though this world is a magical thing, please. Why am I always the one that have to do all the thinking? I'll be on my res, just don't stress me with that screenplay. Running from the man everywhere I go, I see the lies that he say. But who am I? When you put me down without a sound, how will the world ever know? When my judgment day seems like it's gone astray, who'll be the keeper of my soul? Who'll be the keeper of my soul? Who'll be the keeper of my soul? My baby, my babies, my baby's love. My baby, my babies, my baby's love. When the borders will be drowned by the unforgiving sound of the people tied and bound, will the world ever know? When you call me out without a shout, how will the world ever know? When the corpses rot in abandoned parking lots, who'll be the keeper of their souls? Who'll be the keeper of their souls? Who'll be the keeper of their souls? When the forgers sign our names, and what's left is who's to blame? From my wrath they'll wring the shame. Who will remember my name? My baby, my babies, my baby's love. She is